Let's get some analysis now on Dumisani Khumalo's testimony at the Madlanga Commission, as well as the acting Police Minister Firoz Cachalia's appearance at the ad hoc committee in Parliament. And joining us for this conversation is Criminologist Professor Dumisani Mabunda and governance expert Professor Kedibone Phago. Remember, you can send us your comments and questions on our WhatsApp line 072 110 558. Or call us on 010-594-6010, or you can also engage with us on X at Newzroom 405. Let's go to our guest, Professor Mabunda. Let me start with you, if I may. Again, the disbandment of the PKTT dominated both the Madlanga Commission conversations as well as those of the ad hoc committee. A lot of people would, of course, remember that this is or goes to the heart of why both these inquiries were actually set up in the first place. And Lieutenant General Khumalo really saying something that we're not hearing for the first time, that you cannot demobilize immediately something you took years to mobilize.
Yeah, good evening, Vuyo, and good evening to all the viewers. General Khumalo echoed what was said by Professor Cachalia this evening at the ad hoc committee in Parliament. To quote Prof. Cachalia, he says the disbandment of the PKTT required sound reasoning, meaning that he concurs with the other witnesses that indicates that because this PKTT has been in existence for a while, wider consultation would have smoothed the exit of that task team. But we all know right now that there was an immediate instruction to disband that structure, which led to where we are today. We are looking to hear what will unfold despite what we have heard so far, overwhelmingly working against the minister's decision. But we don't know what the other witnesses will say in support of the decision that was taken by the minister.
Not only was sound reasoning required, Professor Phago, but consultation as well, according to both Prof. Cachalia as well as Lieutenant General Khumalo.
Absolutely, Vuyo, and good evening to you and to the viewers. I'm not really very convinced if I read into what Professor Cachalia is saying. I'm very, doubtful on his utterances. I don't think we have to trust him at this point in time, because you need to remember at the point of his when he commenced his responsibilities as the acting minister, the attitude and the manner in which he engaged this matter was very negative towards the fact that the General Mkhwanazi has raised these issues and that there has to be some form of investigations. And I think what we have, what we are witnessing at this point in time, Vuyo, is that the side of the acting minister story, because they realize the solid submissions of General Mukwenazi and his side or his team to these allegations that we have a crisis in this country. We have a safety and security crisis, that the police generals, that senior police officers, that politicians are in cahoots with criminal cartels, that we need an urgent intervention. We are still not getting that. Even when the president made this announcement, he told us that they are going to monitor developments of this committee, of this hearing, and that they will be making interventions. We are not seeing any of that, Vuyo. And I'm talking about this on multiple levels. First, on governance levels, in the sense that we have established systems in place. We've got departments, we've got agencies in these countries that are supposed to be functional and optimal, and that when we make an arrangement to make a commission of inquiry of this nature, it has to be an extraordinary decision. So when we make a decision of this nature, we need to understand that we are diverting the resources of this country that should be servicing South Africans to service the commission. And so we need to take this very serious. I'm not seeing any of that, even from the president himself, even from the acting minister himself. So we are, hearing the acting minister, but I really think that they are talking with a forked tongue to us on this matter.
But Prof Phago, you don't want to give the minister the benefit of a doubt. I think Jimmy Cliff and Johnny Nash both sing a song by the title, I Can See Clearly Now. You don't think perhaps he has since seen clearly?
Look, we shouldn't, Vuyo. We shouldn't, and we must never allow for that as citizens, because what we need to remember is that these people are supposed to act. We have got constitutional values and principles, Chapter 10 of the Constitution, that really tells us on what we expect public officials to be, and their behavior and their conduct. So the bar is very low, and there is no way any person who understands the roles of public officials at the president, at the minister's level, to accept these kinds of submissions. The country is frustrated. The crime levels are out of proportions. They are at a crisis proportions. So there's no way we should, at any given point in time, give them an opportunity to say they need to explain themselves. This is a crisis situation. They are not acting like we are dealing with a crisis on hand.
Well, Prof Mabunda, that seems to be where the minister was in Parliament, because he spoke about being concerned that this task team was being disbanded as we are facing an election, as we are facing the assassination of whistleblowers, and generally speaking, when we have high crime levels.
Yeah, I think you're correct. The timing was not correct. I'm certain that where the minister is, he realizes that there was an error of judgment. But what I've noticed, sometimes you have to take risks in life. The decision that he took, he never thought that it would backfire. So while the country is experiencing a high level of crime, the agencies that are supposed to assist citizenry in terms of dealing with crime, there is mudslinging in these institutions that society is expecting to protect them. What I've heard in the beginning of these commissions, these two committees, the ad hoc committee and the Madlanga Commission, was that they will be at liberty to give preliminary recommendations to be implemented. But as we know in South Africa, when we look at the history of commissions in South Africa, some politicians will even gloatingly say that those are just recommendations. So some of them that are pointed out will even attempt to use state resources to challenge the decision that might have been taken against them. We have seen this in the Zondo Commission, good recommendations that were made, but I'm still yet to see which ones have been implemented. The same goes to the laws of this country. We have good laws. Sometimes we even boast that we have the best constitution in this world. But who is it serving? Because the community that was supposed to benefit from the so-called good constitution are grappling with all social ills, including crime in this country. So the sooner we take a U-turn in terms of how we deal with incompetence and bad governance, the better.
Professor Phago, you know, Prof Mabunda talks about or says that perhaps he didn't know or that this decision, Minister Mkhunu didn't know that this decision would backfire as it has done. But what about, you know, common courtesy? Because I mean, this is what Lieutenant General Khumalo seemed to be saying when he said he had to receive calls from more than 110 people who were asking their leader, him as their leader, what was actually happening, and he couldn't provide answers. And that, I mean, as a governance expert, I mean, that should say a lot about the caliber of a leader that Senzo Mkhunu is. Again, giving him the benefit of a doubt. In other words, not saying here that he had some bad motives for doing what he did, but you know, the common courtesy of saying to the people who are in charge, the National Police Commissioner, the leader, you know, of the political killings task team, hey, gentlemen, this is what I'm about to do. Not that I'm seeking your approval, but I'm just telling you what I'm about to do before you hear it from social media, as it were.
And for me, that is one of the crux of the matter that we are grappling with as a country, that we have political overreach, we have got political interference in administration, and it is very, it is becoming more clearer, and especially listening to General Khumalo's testimony today, unpacking and giving us insights into the letter from the minister disbanding the team and the contradictions that are in that letter. It really tells you that that was a very politically charged letter that completely disregarded the interest of the South Africans. Secondly, the interest of the families that have experienced deaths within their spaces, losing their members. But secondly, undermining the administrative leadership in managing the responsibilities of the political killing task team. So it is very clear that there is no reason under the sun that the minister really used, to draft that letter that should be acceptable. But I think, having said that, he needs to come back and explain this decision, because it really goes to the heart of why should we trust him as the Minister of Police in South Africa at the time when we are experiencing crime at these levels, and when he is supposed to be leading from the front and by example.
Let's bring in some callers now. Brendan is in Cape Town. A very good evening to you, Brendan. What do you have to say this evening?
Good evening, Budvuyo, and to the panel. How are you, Budvuyo?
I'm very well, thank you. Please go ahead and have your say.
You know, every day, I'm just listening to the panelists, the last one that spoke from NWU. The minister, he cannot come and explain because he didn't draft the letter. If we listen every day what's coming, but if I just go back last week to the ex-minister Chair's appearance at Parliament, at the ad hoc committee, where he says that since Commissioner Phago was appointed, the problem started. But I think it started before then because we're all surprised that organized crime has sort of colonized itself, besides in the country, but also in our institutions. And more every day we hear, this is just a confirmation of the Zondo Commission, but we're actually hearing, and that's why, again, we must elect Mr. Kwanazi, General Kwanazi, for president, for coming out and bravely making the country aware that what we see on the surface is not what's happening behind the scenes. And so none of the people actually right there now, besides the men in blue that are like the General Kwanazi, that's hardworking and honest people, that rot is so far, and Mr. Mchunu will never acknowledge that he was told to do that, and that letter was drafted because there's a much bigger picture behind that, Budvuyo.
Brandon, thank you very much for that contribution. We're going to continue to take more of your calls and WhatsApp messages. Remember, you can send them to our WhatsApp line 072 110 5584, or you can call us on 010 594 6010. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, we are unpacking but also analyzing as well as discussing what came out of both the ad hoc committee in Parliament that's looking at allegations of infiltration of the criminal justice system by criminals, but also the Madlanga Commission, which is looking at pretty much the same issue. Cunningham is in Roodepoort. A very good evening to you. Tell us what's on your mind.
Very good evening, Voyo. I'm very much concerned with three things. Firstly, the evidence leaders in the Madlanga Commission who are not leading evidence but cross-examining witnesses. That's my first concern about the evidence leaders. The second issue is about the commissioners. The commissioners are not inquiring, but they are choosing and making findings. For instance, today, you had the commissioners making a finding on the issues put by Lieutenant General Khumalo before the commission without hearing other witnesses. And this is very concerning. I was concerned about the illiteracy on the Constitution by Commissioner Baloyi, Commissioner Madlanga, and Commissioner Khumalo. When the term ends of an administration and when there are elections, you have a new administration. You have new subcommittees of cabinet. You can't say that a subcommittee of cabinet continues into the next administration because you do not know the outcome of the elections. I was shocked that Judge Madlanga does not know the legal implications and political implications of elections. It was very shocking that Madlanga is illiterate on that. When elections take place, we have a new administration. The new cabinet committees must be established. And no minister has got the power to convene cabinet committees. It is not true. What Baloyi, Justice Madlanga was saying, and Khumalo. The other thing is it's the lies that Khumalo is, Lieutenant General Khumalo is spewing in that commission together with Mkhwanazi and Masemuli. These are very concerning issues because the investigators of the commission have not been doing investigations. We have General Mboto saying that we have stopped investigations because we are giving the commission a chance. A criminally charged intelligence head is continuing with investigations. And what is that? What kind of nonsense when Khumalo, General Khumalo is continuing with investigations with Masemula and Mkhwanazi. But the DPCI has stopped its investigations to allow the commission to work. We have got a lot of nonsense in that commission.
Okay.
These are the concerns that I have for you. And I'm saying that commission has got to look at the way it operates and the way the evidence leaders and the commissioners conduct themselves in that commission because they're not helping the country.
Okay, I hear you on the Khumalo issues, and I'm sure IDEC, when its head appears tomorrow, will clarify a lot of those issues. I also hear you, or your point about the commissioners, but I couldn't quite get what your issue was on the evidence leaders, very briefly. Okay, Cunningham is gone there, but let's go back to our panel. Professor Mabunda, I don't know how much you heard of what Cunningham had to say there, and whether you want to pick up on any of the issues that he raised.
Yeah, I think Vuyo is raising a good issue here. The same applies to the ad hoc committee in Parliament. Sometimes you see the questioning when particular witnesses appears before that ad hoc committee. But what is interesting is not the presiding officers and their staff. What is important in these two structures is what all the evidence will say in these structures. Then individually, these two structures will make their recommendations. Obviously, some of the evidence that is presented by witnesses will be discarded along the way, but credible evidence will assist these structures to come up with recommendations that hopefully will help us as a country to move forward. Obviously, the citizen is watching this development. We have different views, but what will count at the end is what recommendations will be made and what will be done after that, because I indicated earlier on that all the commissions of inquiries in this country have been constituted very well, and they've done a very good job, and many of their recommendations have not been implemented. So yes, I agree on the issue of wasting resources that should be channeled elsewhere, but we do have a need for this kind of inquiries so that hopefully we'll become a better society going forward.
But given that record, Prof, that you're talking about from a previous commission, do you agree with Cunningham that this particular, or the commissioners here in this instance, are already accusing people and making findings?
Yeah, I might have missed the point that the caller was making, but yes, at some stage, they do assist in terms of clarifying issues. I do not want to pick on particular commissioners, but they make a valuable contribution because in certain instances, if they didn't come in to seek clarity, a wrong conclusion will come out of what the witness has said. So there are negatives and positives in the whole process, but eventually we will see a clearer picture. We are looking forward to tomorrow where a new witness from a very important institution called IDAC will be given an opportunity to say what their views are. And I'm sure we are moving closer to the conclusion of these commissions, where we will be able to press the restart button. But what is concerning for me, obviously, is what is happening currently. These institutions that are involved in a mudslinging, where there are factions in the organization, which is supposed, for example, this festive season, there were supposed to be strategies that are developed to deal with crime, but it is not certain whether the general police members are not affected by what is taking place at the top when they're looking at these developments. And last comment about what was said today about the stopping of adverts that were supposed to fill vacant posts at the crime intelligence. That points to interference, because that is what would assist in terms of getting the right people in the intelligence agency so that the crime issue in this country can be addressed.
Minister Cachalia, Professor Phago, says Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's appearance before the public with military regalia and being armed worried him.
Yes, and I think General Mkhwanazi has addressed that matter, and it came out at some point in one of his submissions to the committees that he adorned in that manner because this is part of his official training, that they use that regalia. And I think that matter was addressed. But I also want to say that the question of security that we are facing in this country has or seems to be very much trivialized by the current administration. And I think we need to really be sensitive to South Africans in the manner that they are experiencing crime and criminal activities. So to be focused on how the general presented himself over the message he has been sending should be worrying. What General Mkhwanazi has done and needs to actually be supported across the board is that he is blowing a whistle. And we know how many whistleblowers in this country that have come out and have been killed. Others have been disappeared, have not really been protected by our own government. And so I think the minister, the acting minister, needs to do a serious self-introspection, because it tells us now that for anyone to be a credible and a very strong whistleblower in this country needs to take a similar stance of General Mkhwanazi, because that tells the general public and whoever would be countering the general or a whistleblower that he is ready to actually defend himself. And we understand that message that General Mkhwanazi was sending to the country and to anyone who would have wanted to stand on his way. So if the minister is worried about that, it actually, in my view, says that the minister would not want to see any whistleblower coming out and also demonstrating their stance and their position that they are ready to defend themselves in any way possible. Because he needs to understand that we are frustrated as a citizen, as a country, because these criminal activities have been taking place for way too long, and we don't have any solution insight that he himself needs to be showing. He's not showing at this point in time as we are speaking.
It did, of course, Prof, concede when MPs questioned him or interrogated him that certainly in extreme situations where established internal channels are ineffective, senior law enforcement officials might be compelled to act outside the norm if it's to really expose the truth and to draw the attention of those who can do something about it, to whatever cause that. Welcome back. Let's look at some of the WhatsApp messages that some of you have sent. I think Senzo Mkhunu must be fired. All witnesses are pointing to him. It's clear he is offside of the law. That's Toyo. My name is Johannes from Soshanguve. Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo's testimony is straightforward, that generally there was a clear attempt to capture the SAPS for personal gain and tantamount to corruption. It's not even a surprise because even the judiciary is being captured by corrupt politicians who are in government, says Ntoki. Good evening, Vuyo. Lieutenant General testimony today was simply shocking, to say the least. South Africa has now become a state where people would do as they wish, knowing that nothing will happen to them. However, Khumalo's testimony still has to be tested, maybe in a court of law. Good evening, Vuyo. Politicians such as Senzo Mkhunu and Firoz Cachalia are adding little or no value to the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee because in the first place, they don't even understand their job descriptions and they are not aligned to the safety and security that South African citizens want to be addressed, says Chris in Midrand. Let's continue the conversation with our panel, Professor Dumisani Mabunda and Professor Kedibone Phago. As we go towards the end of this conversation, we do expect the head of IDEC, Professor Mabunda, to appear before the committee tomorrow on why they arrested and charged Lieutenant General Khumalo. I don't know if what your thoughts are and what questions she should perhaps be answering tomorrow.
Yeah, we are looking forward to tomorrow. Obviously, we at this stage are not privy to why they took such a decision. Obviously, they will be explaining that when they appear tomorrow. But when we look at what we have been hearing in the media space, it points to what General Mkhwanazi has outlined previously, that all of these things were pointing to political interference. So it is up to IDEC tomorrow to dispute what General Mkhwanazi has already indicated. This structure is fairly new. Some of us are not sure what their roles and responsibilities are and what its aim, which kind of crimes are they supposed to deal with when one looks at other investigating agencies in South Africa. So definitely we are looking forward to what will transpire starting tomorrow. And as some callers have indicated, the wind seemed to be blowing to one direction. We are looking forward to some witnesses who will be disputing some of the evidence that have been presented so far.
Our caller Cunningham, Professor Phago, earlier took issue with the fact that you have a Khumalo who has been arrested and charged, but continuing to investigate others. And I hope I'm not putting words into his mouth, but it seemed to be suggesting double standards or something, suggesting that something is amiss there.
Correct, Vuyo. That is also how I understood him. But I think this is, panning itself out within this complex situation that we are, still yet to find any strong evidence to counter the original allegations that General Mkhwanazi have made, and subsequently the current evidence that the General Khumalo today was making, that there are criminal cartels that have captured the state, and this is why we are seeing that our security cluster is no longer serving the interest of the country, but of the elite that are very few, and that the interest of South Africans have been eroded. And I think this is where we see this kind of views, which I don't think at this point in time we need to dismiss, because the process is still unfolding, but yet we have not seen any compelling argument either from especially the Minister Senzo, Kunu, from Minister Cachalia, or any of the, even General Sibia himself, who is at the heart of these allegations. And I think if we view for now the evidence that has unfolded, it would actually say that General Khumalo today still has some legitimacy, and until we find somebody who is going to strongly counter his narrative and cast very serious doubts on his evidence, because what we need to remember as well is that when the president sets a commission of this nature, there will always be this kind of elements that would need to cast aspersions on these processes so that it does not look like it's legitimate. So although some of these points may look like they are valid, but I think it is just a matter of time to actually say that the caller was right or wrong. And I think for now we know where that we know the direction of the evidence.
Professor Phago speaks of countering narratives and the process that's still unfolding. Prof, and earlier you said yourself that the wind is currently still blowing in one direction. Isn't it in the nature of these kinds of processes, though, that at the very beginning, the most obvious people to invite are those who would have made the allegations, and then people who then would seek to or would want to corroborate their information before those who stand accused can then come with counter-narratives? Isn't that the natural order of such things as commissions of inquiry?
Yeah, a good question.
Professor Mabunda, sorry. Yes.
Can I continue?
Yes, please.
Yeah, you're asking a very good question. In cases like this, like in a criminal case, the first witnesses appears to be saying the right things until there's counter evidence. But so far, we are almost in the middle of these processes. As I've indicated, we are yet to hear witnesses that will be helping us in terms of the wind blowing to the other side. As Prof. Phago has indicated, what we have heard right now, there's corroboration by various witnesses that stand on the side of those who have made these allegations. So we are looking forward to see where there will be a change in terms of what we have heard so far. Obviously, evidence will have to be sifted through by these structures that have been appointed. Some will be discarded, no matter how important we may think they are, but the commissions will tell the nation what is important and what is not. We are watching these processes with a hawk's eyes, but as I indicated, the nation must be assured that we are not in a crisis, because everything else at the moment indicates that the country is in a crisis. So we need some kind of a family meeting like we used to have during COVID, where there will be several family meetings just to assure the nation that things are still under control.
Fellow South Africans, things are still under control. Special thanks to Criminologist Professor Dumisani Mabunda and governance expert Professor Kedibone Phago.